Thank you for your time, Bhaichung. I'll start the interview. A small boy, Bhaichung Bhutia, from a small village, Tinkitam, in a small state, Sikkim. How and when did he start dreaming big?
I don't think you start dreaming big. When you love a particular thing, you just love it. Since I was, football was the game which I really loved and enjoyed it. So I think I just enjoyed and loved the game. And when you play as a kid, I don't think you really think that you want to become Maradona or somebody. I think you love the game and you play and you work hard. And obviously, you would want to, as you grow, you would want to. Play the game at the highest level and represent the country. So it wasn't such that I wanted there was a plan that, or I had thought that I would want to become the captain of Indian team. It's just that I love the game, I worked hard, and I think it has just flown the way it is.
So what was in your mind when you started, playing football passionately? I understand that it was your passion always, but did you ever think that I will go to Calcutta or play in the mainstream Indian football? Because that's kind of a dream that a boy from Sikkim would have to get into the mainstream.
So I didn't really think as such, because I think because when we were studying, I was into boarding school, and when we were studying in Sikkim, I think the televisions. And obviously being so small, I think the newspapers and televisions obviously weren't there on those days, and I didn't know much about Indian football and
Right.
so on. So at that, I think when I started playing and when I first got my scholarship from Sports Authority of India, so during those days as well, I never knew of clubs in football in India, and I never knew big players in India as well. But as things went by, I grew up, and then I started knowing of clubs called East Bengal, Mohunbagan, and once in '93, I think when they made an offer, I think that was the time I thought I could take it seriously.
We have been making progress in Indian football, in at least in recent years. But the progress had been fairly slow. While the countries like China and Japan, which has sort of the similar infrastructure, similar problems as us, had made fast-paced progress, our progress had been really very slow. Why?
So I think saying of similar infrastructure, I think it's totally wrong. I think infrastructure plays a big role. The system which we have in India, I think, also plays a big role. The kind of setup we have, Indian football setup we have, I think is also not. It's a bit. I would say it's not the way I think the football should have been, because the setup is I think it's a bit outdated, and the infrastructure obviously lacks big time, and also I think we lack exposure, and we lack training. A lot of players after retirement, for them to become very, very good coach. So I think everything, that a lot of small things that make it quite a lot of things. So that those are missing quite a big time in India. We don't have youth development programs. If we do have academies, I think they're not well equipped. I think anyway, infrastructure wise, or some might not have the facilities of having a good coaches as well. So I think our duty is to first, if we can, that we should train a lot of our young players who are retiring after the game to become a good coaches, and then work on league development and also work on infrastructure. And it's a long-term planning you've got to do, and I don't think we're doing that.
You touched a lot of point in the thing, and you are quite right. I mean, when I said infrastructure, actually, I should have said similar issues in terms of population or economy or things like that, at least in China. But you touched a lot of points. Couple of points you haven't mentioned, which is sports medicine and sports management. Do you think
I think that comes under in sports infrastructure, because once you have a good infrastructure, then I think everything follows it, including the sports medicine. So I think that comes under the infrastructure. So I think that's why we've not been able to also work with sports medicine, like a lot of advanced countries which have been utilizing those facilities and making, getting their players a big advantage on that. So that I think we've not been able to utilize, and that comes I think because we don't have proper infrastructure, and in the planning and the setup is also a bit not the way we would want to be. So I think once we set it up, then I think it can work.
But raw talent wise, you think we are at an
I think
adequate
that's
level?
the quality what we have. I think the talent wise, because a lot of the, I think any sports person, you've got to have inborn talent, which is very important. And I think, in India, I think we've got a lot of inborn talents in terms of football. But sadly in football, it's just not the talent that's going to make you a successful footballer or a successful team, or can take Indian football to great heights. I think a lot of combination requires, and that's the reason why we've not been able to support those talent.
Are we getting, at least in nowadays, right? Corporate backing is very, very important. Are we generating enough interest to get corporate backing?
I think we're doing decent enough. We're not doing badly, but I think unless you don't have your own setup right, then it becomes difficult just to look into corporate and things like that. You've got to have proper planning and proper setup.
There is still a perception. I would say it's more of a perception, and to some extent probably a reality also. That the elite and the educated and there is a certain segment of the society who are more interested in cricket as a sport, right? And they think that that's the place where you get your fame and the money and all those things that come with, right? And they naturally tend to go there. While football is not the place which where young talents normally tend to go.
See, I think it's very plain and simple, because where you've got good future, where you've got name, fame, and then you can make a good living out of it. I think any parents would encourage their kids to, take up that sport. So I think it's important for us, people who are involved with the game, football, to work and make sure that, the game also improves, the quality of the game improves. Once it improves, I think, the corporates and the financial and the fame, everything comes in. So ultimately, I think it's down to producing good players and getting good results. And for that, then you come back again down to youth development programs, infrastructure. Unless you don't succeed in international level, then I think you don't get sponsors and you don't have that kind of coverage. So it's important that we develop good players, and then the remaining follows. So I think cricket has been doing that, and I think that's where we've got to look into it and see, what we can learn from, cricket, and try and work on football as well.
But if you think about it, like say 20 years back, right? Even the current infrastructure or the corporate backing that we have today in cricket was not there. It gradually came in. Yes, success was one part of it. But do you think also we had better administration in cricket?
No, I don't think it's the administrator, because I think the same people, I'm sure you bring those same administrator who are working in cricket and bring them to football and tell them to change the game. I think they will still struggle, because I think ultimately it's the success and the team and the results what you get. And I don't think it's the administrator, because I think bringing anyone from cricket to football would change and make football same as cricket. I don't think I believe in that.
Changing the topic a little bit, you were one of the torch bearers, I would say, of plying the trade in various foreign countries outside India. And now the likes of Sunil Chetri and Stephen Diaz, they are planning to go to the US for the MLS and those kind of stuffs. So looking at that, I mean, you had been an icon, an inspiration to the younger generation. Looking at that, do you think that you should have extended your body stint a little bit more?
See, obviously, you would want a lot of things, but a lot of times things don't exactly go according to what you think. So, I was very lucky to have gone 3 years and seen football, world football very closely. And I'm happy. I've got no regrets. Obviously, I would have loved if things had gone right, and with no injuries and a lot of things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's part of life, and I'm very happy that I went out. And I think I would want players to go out and start playing. And because I think India needs, India needs people who just not go out and also know about the system, know about football, know more about the game,
yeah,
and then come back and help the Indian football in whatever way they can. So I think that's more important.